Hello again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder. Today is Friday, January 31st, 2020. And herb is God's four-letter word. You'll find it in Genesis chapter 1. Can't even get past the first page. This is the wonderful thing, right? Genesis chapter 1. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Followed by, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And so I was saying, hey, if you're getting charged for what they call marijuana, well, we need to take them to ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. So this video is me tying all these things together I've been looking at here recently and helping somebody who has a marijuana case. And, it hasn't been solved yet. No, don't have the answer. But we're using this as a defense, right? That God gave it to us. It's in the Bible. It would be violation of my freedom of religion to say that I couldn't have what you call marijuana, that God calls herb. He called it herb. You can't change his name. He gave herb to every creature on the face of the earth. So what I want to know then is church. I don't really care which one you are, the Catholic Church, Methodist Church, Episcopal Church, Protestant Church of any kind. Why do you allow belligerents to enslave people for possessing a promised gift of God when you have a chapel that has a gold-fringed flag of the United States in it, and if you were to get involved, you could end the persecution? So I don't know how many pastors would happen to watch a video of mine, but I doubt that there's very many. But you may know one, and you might want to ask them. You may want to tell them to watch this video. So that's, this is the main part of my video will be my journey helping a lady in Georgia through a marijuana case. But hey, plus, how to know if your governor is a child of the father of all lies. Well, the clue, it's very obvious, is look at their oath of office. And it isn't just the governor, it's all of these actors acting like they're in the government. There isn't a one of them that has a proper oath of office as required by the Constitution. So they don't have any constitutional authority, so, why are they running your lives? These are questions that never get asked. And once asked, they don't want to answer, but we have to figure out how to make them answer. And so you'll get that to happen by bringing them the truth and telling them, hey, you don't have a proper oath of office. You don't have any authority. Right? I file a petition. I petition the government for redress of grievances. Judge, you don't have a proper oath of office. Now, you can go down for a judge. You can go to the county, the elections office, and, you can get a copy of it. The governor, I got hers by just FOIA-ing the state of Michigan. So I want a copy of the governor's office. They sent me one. Let's take a look at it here in a minute. And so if you want to email me for any particular reason, it would be Rob Ryder's email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. And my phone number is 616-712-6179. I have to really ask, and I need you to pay attention now, and please donate. I really do. I need your support. I cannot pay my rent. All right, this is a common occurrence. I don't do this to make money, but I do try to support myself off of what I do. And I've sold all my worldly possessions to fill in the holes, and I don't have anything left. All right, so I need you to get in your wallet and donate, please. You can do it by PayPal. My account name is robryder@aol.com, or send it in the mail to Robert Allen Rutluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. And Robert Allen Rutluski, that would be my full legal name according to their system. And you have a full legal name according to their system. And so that's the name you need to make them always use if you're ever dealing with them. But it doesn't take long to find out that, they either tweak your name or they do something with your social security number or they make a mistake in the error and they're really not talking about you. Because, it isn't a mistake. That's what the record says. So if the record is wrong, then you have the wrong person. It's easier to show the stuff on paper than me trying to explain it to you this way. So let's get on with it. So, hey, herb is God's four-letter word. Amen. What do I want to start with? Let's go look at this oath of office. I got to figure out where I put all these things. Okay, so here's my FOIA request. Right, that part of me doing these videos is to make my public record, right? So I like to show all this slightly relevant information that I went to the state of Michigan and I asked for and was told you can have that your request for Governor Gretchen Whitmer's oath of office is granted. Thank you very much. And so this is what it looked like. This is supposed to be the oath of office of the Governor of Michigan. Received, filed, Michigan Department of State, December 11th, 2018. I think that's what it says. Does that make sense? Office of the Great Seal, Ingham County, Governor. Well, apparently it's Gretchen Whitmer. Sworn subscribed, da-da-da. Somebody's little scratch there, supposed to be their signature, and turns out that she's a notary. Well, there's a few things wrong with this document, from the beginning. And so the first thing is that in the Constitution of Michigan, this here Constitution of the state, the C and the S are not capitalized. Right there, where are you at? Here you are. All right, so this is how the wording in the Constitution. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Okay, that's properly done. And the lowercase Constitution of the state. Well, what does that mean when it's written that way? It means the Constitution of the United States is also the Constitution of the state. Right? There isn't two different ones. There's just one. It's the same Constitution for both. But when you capitalize the C and capitalize the S, well, now you've properly named something that doesn't necessarily have to be this Constitution of the United States, or properly identified something. And so this is where, those of you who are the, what's the term I'm looking for? Grammar experts, right? What is the difference? Right, this has got the C capitalized, S capitalized. I say, well, they're talking about two different constitutions now, this way. Where when this C isn't capitalized and this S isn't capitalized, they're talking about the same constitution, just being used in two different places. Okay, to the best of my ability. Now, hers doesn't have "So Help Me God" on it, but I've seen on other styles like this, because this is used by many officers in Michigan, where they will have "So Help Me God" added or some other religious test, which makes it, a violation of the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States. No religious test. But it does support. So, okay. Now, Gretchen Whitmer, that really isn't her full legal name. Right? She has another name. It's Gretchen Esther Whitmer. So I say she didn't properly identify herself because according to the Real ID Act that went into effect for 2020, right, and this is the one that says if your ID doesn't have this information on it, you can't get on an airplane, that act. Well, that ID has your full legal name. Mine's Robert Allen Rytlewski. Hers is Gretchen Esther Whitmer. And that's the name that you have to use for all official purposes with federal agencies. Well, if you're going to be swearing to the Constitution of the United States, then you're swearing to a federal agency, so you got to use your full legal name. And she didn't. Another error. And then finally, the governor cannot swear an oath of office before a notary public. At least not in Michigan. And so, right, oaths of office. This is from the Secretary of State's website. Authorized individuals who may administer oaths. So let's go see what we have for a notary, right? All offices with the one. One says excluding governor, attorney general, secretary of state, We don't need to go any further, right? This woman here, right here, is claiming to be the governor of the state of Michigan, and her, right? And she's filed a fucking counterfeit oath of office. I want her arrested. I want the military to arrest her ass and put her in a FEMA camp. Right? Because one of her jobs in the past, she had been an Ingham County prosecutor, which means she was putting people in jail for marijuana, which is a herb given by every man, or by God to every man. And they can call it whatever they want. It's still an herb, and just because you don't know it doesn't change the fact. Right? If they're going to arrest you for it, they got to arrest a squirrel or a bird. Everybody. Right? It's discrimination. So this is the fallacy of the system we live in, that everybody, not everybody, people who listen to my videos or things like this, I mean, we know there's shit's going on. But by and large, most people think the world's just fine. Well, it isn't. And Gretchen Esther Whitmer is a child of the devil, because she lies, cheats, and steals. And she needs an exorcism. And if that doesn't work, well, then throw her ass in the FEMA camp and just keep her there until she naturally dies. Give her everything she wants. Just don't let her leave. And not just her, all these devil-worshiping pagans, which is really what we're dealing with. People that are using the Word of God against the children of God. So claim your office as a child of God and stand up for your rights. Go to the church and say you can't do this. So anyways, this ADR though, so this is all part of it, because, see, the church has gold fringe flags. All these churches got gold fringe flags in them. Well, that's an army flag, military style flag of the nation. It flies wherever the occupying power is. And if you go in a courtroom, there's a gold fringe flag. You go in a church, there's a gold fringe flag. You go into the township hall, there's a gold fringe flag. County commissioner's offices, so forth and so on. It goes on and on and on. They're all part of the same system. So the church then is an agent of the government. And it's actually true. Back in 1918, the Protestant churches as a group and the Catholic Church as its own group became agents of the Department of War. And I say they still are. That's why the flags are there. And so they have some kind of connection. If you were to look at it this way, wherever there's a flag, right, is connected to each other, they're just the farthest out outpost of the headquarters, which is supposed to be the president, Donald John Trump, but he hasn't taken proper oath of office yet. And we'll get into that more. What I wanted to come here for was because of the fact that they're charging you for something that was given to you by God, then don't go to court and argue it, right? Go to arbitration and argue it. ADR. And so I did these two videos here recently. Arbitration Rules the Nation, and ADR, U.S. Service and Veterans Issues, Real Estate and more. They kind of, were beginning steps for me and what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, what I was going to try to accomplish, and so forth. And I wanted a military pay, which will be the next video after this again, because I have some more information on that. But for today, we're going to talk about a case where Herb is involved. We haven't gone to the church yet, but I'm going to talk to Dawn and see if she might want to go down there and point this out to them, have them write us a letter. But we are trying to take him to ADR. And it's an interesting story. At least to me it is. Maybe I might be a little too close to it. What I wanted to show, though, before we get on with that, is it's not the governor, right? This is the congressional record, January 17, 2019, for the House, that shows that after they had claimed, or after they had shut down for an adjournment, right? We're done for the day. We'll pick it up on Friday, right? Until tomorrow. All of a sudden, they slipped this shit in here about their oath of office, saying that they're going to take this oath of office and then they're going to file it and follow all these laws and codes and whatever they're supposed to do. Well, if you read 2 USC 25, it doesn't say anything about taking this oath here. it says take the oath. Well, it doesn't say it, but it refers to the oath. It's in 1 Stat 23, First Congress, Statutes at Large, page 23. It's the very first law written by the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution. And it specifically says in there, this is the oath of office that satisfies the 6th article of the Constitution. And it still says it today, and they don't do it. And instead, they try to take this oath that has "So help me God," which is a religious test. So no matter what they say or try to do, this oath is unconstitutional because it violates the fucking 6th, excuse my French, the 6th article of the Constitution. Right? The oath of office required by the 6th article of the Constitution. As provided by Section 2 of an act of this act now, so now they're trying to justify what they're doing, right? And they say an act of May 13th, 1884, and they call it 23 Stat 22. Well, Statutes at Large 23 weren't in 1884. That's the 23rd Congress, which is quite some time before. It's like in the 1820s or something, right? You got 2 Congresses every year or every term. All right, so basically every year there's a Congress. Is that how that works? Anyways, 23 is from earlier, and I don't know exactly how they do it, but I don't really care. I just know that May 13th, 1884, in this statute at large, they don't go together. All right, so this thing is a jumbled up lie where these people who are not using their full legal name, right, they're using nicknames and initials and all the things that the Real ID Act says you can't, because it says you have to use your full legal name, and then it defines what the full legal name is. So all these apparent office holders in the House of Representatives, right? They're not. They're usurpers. They're enemies of the state. They should be rounded up, put in a FEMA camp. At least kicked out of the Capitol building. Don't let them come back in. Because not only did they do this, now that all 400 and however many of them there are did this, now they're going to go take another oath for classified information. And they're going to get state secrets. So people impersonating officers of the state are now in custody of the state's secrets. I wonder if they're going to use that against our best interest, we the people. Well, of course they are, and hey, that's where you find yourself in Oz. This isn't Kansas. Well, maybe it is Kansas. I don't know, but right, it just ain't quite the way it's supposed to be. So, and there, because the people doing this to us are the ones claiming to run the state, right, or claiming to be in the government at any level. They're the ones taking a false oath of office. They're the ones taking you to court that don't have any authority to do so. Well, it looks like our answer is, if there is one, until we get it straightened out and don't happen anymore, is to take them to ADR instead of trying to take them into a court of justice, right? Because that's what type of style of courts we have. They're courts of justice. Well, a court of justice is a Talmudic law court. It's one of the 7 Noahide laws to have courts of justice. Oh, hang on just a second, please. Okay, then. So, before we get on to our feature presentation about herb is God's 4-letter word, I wanted to show. So, since all this is going on, right, the governor's oath is bad, these congressional records oath is bad. I wanted to point out this is done on the 17th. They're supposed to do this on like the 3rd, right? The very first day of the session. First Tuesday, I think it is, or something like that, is when they're supposed to do their oath of office, and they're trying to slip it in like they did it after adjourning on the 17th. Right? This is the Congress. Allegedly the United States. Well, then they're not the Congress. The governor's not the governor. Judges aren't judges. None of these people have a proper oath of office. The fucking prosecutor doesn't have a proper oath of office. They're all children of the devil. Right? They're attorneys. They were woe in the Bible numerous times. They change the name sometimes so it doesn't always say attorney. They call them scribes and Pharisees. No, they're talking about attorneys, man. Them people, right? The ones that are going to claim to know the law. Learned in the law, and they're going to use it against you. So, anyways, because the oath of office was wrong on the governor, I said I'm going to write. It ended up being the Office of Management and Budget because of this law I found that if you have a debt against the United States, one of the places you take it to is the Office of Management and Budget. I said, okay, I got a claim against the United States because, well, let's read it. Claim for settlement by director of an Article 4 constitutional debt owed by the United States. The United States is in default, owes Michigan protection, Republican form of government. Director of the state of Michigan has been invaded. One of the invaders, Gretchen Whitmer, executed a counterfeit oath of office and falsely claims to be the elected governor of the state of Michigan. By this person's felony, Michigan is denied a Republican form of government, which means a government where you have elected, the people you elected are in charge. Well, we didn't elect her. You are the proper officer under 31 U.S.C. 3702 authority to settle claims, to settle the debt. It isn't that she couldn't have been elected. She didn't take the office. She took a false oath of office, so she's not in the office. She's just obstructing justice by standing in the doorway. So the document filed as an oath of office in the Michigan Department of State by the belligerent evidences election fraud and willful suppression of a Republican form of government for Michigan. I have included a copy of the oath of office and filed it for your inspection. Right? Gretchen Whitmer is not a full legal name, is not recognized by federal agencies as person identified for official purposes. Gretchen Whitmer does not comply with Title VI, the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37. That'd be the Real ID Act. Gretchen Whitmer's full name is Gretchen Esther Whitmer, and her full legal name is required on her oath of office if she is to claim any authority under the United States. It's pretty freaking simple, right? That's all they need to do, and they can't do it because they lie, cheat, and steal. They can't not lie, cheat, and steal. Well, at least they can't lie, and if you're lying, the rest comes with it. But they are the children of their father. Gretchen Whitmer, counterfeit oath of office, was administered by an improper public officer. According to State Secretary of State website, an order public cannot administer an oath of office to the governor of Michigan. Hey, I showed you that already. The style of the oath of office that Gretchen Whitmer subscribed is inconsistent with the style of the oath of office in the Michigan Constitution of 1963. The phrase, capitalized Constitution of the state is improper grammar for the oath intended by the state constitution, which mandates lowercase constitution of this state. These phrases have completely different meanings, and the result is a counterfeit oath of office filed by Jane Doe using the fictitious name Gretchen Whitmer. Arrest her. She's an enemy of the United States. As a result of the deceit of Gretchen Whitmer and her conspirators, Michigan has been invaded and overrun by belligerents intent on using domestic violence and simulated legal process under color of law to embezzle the wealth of the people of Michigan and deny them civil rights and liberties. Yes, it's happening right now today. Director, it is your duty to settle the debt the United States owes. The state of Michigan and I file this claim for settlement of debt, capture the invaders, protect Michigan, restore a Republican form of government. Now, of course, I haven't heard from them yet, but it was the proper thing to do. I got to report it to somebody, and according to 31 U.S.C. 3702, authority to settle claims, that person in this particular case would be the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And you can go research it yourself. Okay, so enough on that. We'll get done with the governor and the alleged governor, alleged Congress people. I just want to say that Donald John Trump has the same problem because he needs to take two oaths of office, the one in Article 2 and the one in 1 Stat 23, and do so using his full legal name. And then he could really be the president of the United States, and the nation would finally have a commander-in-chief. Because right now we have a headless government, or headless military government, right? Because we're under martial law, have been since 1863. It's why these gold fringe flags are all over the place. And it's never been rescinded. According to Article 2 of the Lieber Code, once martial law has been declared, it takes a proclamation or a peace treaty. Civil War entered in a what do they call that? Jeepers. Whatever the Civil War ended in, and so did the First World War. It wasn't a peace treaty. It was an armistice. Is that what it was? I can't remember what the word is. Too many things to remember right now. Okay, let's go on. So this is what's going on in Florida. Florida, Georgia. And actually, if you went to the Osceola Star for September 4th, 2019, drug task force busts marijuana grow in operation in West Irwin County. Oh, ain't that some shit, right? A guy pretending to be apparently law enforcement is standing in front of somebody's herb. And they're going to call it marijuana and say, well, we're going to take it from you. And by the way, we're going to go in your house, take all your fucking private possessions. Whatever we think is of value. Of course, that doesn't say it in here. And in here, Dawn is guilty. But what's the truth? Because that's what will set you free. All right, so let's start with the truth. So here's a search warrant they used. All right, we got a docket number now, so we got something to refer to. And it said Captain Chip Bowen. Well, let's stop here, right? Because Captain Chip Bowen, there is no such person as Captain Chip Bowen. It's a legal fiction. That isn't anybody. Right? An officer charged with the duty of enforcing the criminal laws that he has reason to believe that in Irwin County, Georgia, well, whose criminal laws, where, there's all sorts of problems with this. Right? 326 Crystal Road, Irwin County, Georgia. And then sometimes it'll have the city instead of Irwin County. And sometimes it'll just say Irwin. And right now it's Dawn Stewart, not Dawn Katrina Stewart. This is what they were going to get her for. And so this is supposed to be a search warrant issued from a magistrate court, Irwin County, state of Georgia. There's page 1. Nothing on the back page, apparently. But, here's a page 2, and they've crossed out the top. So we're not going to do that. But there was no return of service. Right? The whole bottom of the frickin' of the warrant hasn't been filled out. And so this was never properly served. Right? That's what I'm saying. Now, they can say whatever they want. And, of course, they're going to disagree, but that's fine. I didn't expect them to agree yet, but it doesn't change the fact of what I'm going to say. Now, what Dawn found out is this isn't her Social Security number. Right? It's wrong. So they're really not charging Dawn, right? They're charging somebody else Dawn. But the Dawn that's being charged, that isn't her Social Security number. Here it's Irwin, Georgia, right? Not Irwin County. And here it's Rebecca, Georgia, instead of Crystal Lake Road, Irwin County, like it said earlier. Now it's Rebecca, Georgia. Right? Just changing back and forth, to and fro, da-da-da-da-da. And you get to this page here, and it has what looks like, some computer-generated signatures where the affiant and the attested by are the same person. Well, you can't do that. And yet, there they are. And Heather Culpepper, did she do that, or did even Scene do this? Who put these on this piece of paper? Who is this? Who wants to own up to it? Well, none of them do. And that's the thing. And so, she got busted for, what are these for? Where does it say? Possession of tools for commission of crime. Felony, manufacture of marijuana. Well, I thought you grew marijuana. No, you have to manufacture it. Right? So, it isn't herb they're getting you for. It's getting you because you manufactured marijuana from your herb. Well, you can't do that. It's just herb. It's food. Right? That's what it goes to. God said it was food. Herb is food. Not herb is marijuana. And, boom, boom, boom. 4 different warrants. Oh, and each one's got a $5,000 bond. Yeah, I wonder if this might have something to do with money. Is there any chance that Somehow they're going to negotiate these instruments they created and, turn them into bank notes, maybe not legal tender, but bank money. Spends about the same within the system, but they could draw interest on it because it's sitting in an account or whatever they're going to do with this, right? They wrote 5 bonds. So now this is Heather Culpepper's signature on this, right? This is what her signature looks like, apparently. Does that look anything like this? No, I don't believe it's the same. Do you? D. And so this is where it started, right? When Dawn got a hold of me, this is the first thing she sent me. It's like, well, wow. This was all happening back, end of August, 1st of September. And so I said, well, Dawn, what do you want to do, right? Because I'm not going to, I have my ideas, right? I don't want to do any of these other things. This is what I want to do, Dawn. If you want to do this, I'm willing to help you. So this is what I want to do. I want to write to the court, Dawn, right? And say to the Magistrate Court of Irwin County, Georgia, relief from docket number, which was on the warrants. And so what we did is I wrote this up for her to take to the magistrate judge or whatever court it is that you would go to wherever you would go to report a crime, and go into the magistrate's office and give it to him. Right? Don't go to the clerk's window. Go find the door that says magistrate. Knock on the door, go in and give it to him because you can go see the magistrate. Well, sure enough, that's what happened, right? So Dawn was able to take this and give it to the magistrate because there it's filed in her office. And this is what it said. I, Dawn Katrina Stewart, inform this court that its docket number, and the reason I said it was that court, obviously, is because, well, that's where all criminal matters are supposed to start, and it has her name on it. Right, this is the judge that's on the frickin' warrants. Right, that's who we went to see, Heather Culpepper. Under color of law, orchestrated by persons of bad faith, impersonating law enforcement officers, that violates rights and privileges guaranteed to me under the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Georgia, and the Holy Word of God. Done as part of a scheme of extortion, a felony under state and federal law, for which I demand relief. Take notice, it is a misprision felony, that'd be 18 U.S.C. 004, upon the officers and employees of this court to allow this breach of public trust to continue. Here are a few examples of the deceitful acts. Chip Bowen is impersonating a law enforcement officer. The Georgia Police Officers Standards and Training Council, every state has some kind of council that certifies law enforcement officers. And this is the name in Georgia. They call it POST. Has not issued its certificate in the name Chip Bowen as certified police officer. The search warrant of Captain Chip Bowen was not returned with an inventory sworn and subscribed before a judge of the magistrate court. That's what it said to do on the last page of this thing. Where was I? I was way at the beginning. Let's see, down here. Where did it? Bob. Attached here to is an inventory consisting of blank pages. Well, he didn't do it. Right? What did they do? Put it on paper. Didn't do this, didn't do this, didn't do this. I say it's a simulated legal process. Right? Not returned with an inventory sworn and subscribed before a judge of the magistrate court. The arrest warrants created as a result of the fictitious search warrant contain personal data of Dawn Katrina Stewart, which is with a different social security number than mine, and the name prosecutor Sean Fitzgerald is not the name of the Georgia prosecuting attorney for this county. These simulated warrants are not under the hand and seal of any judge. So the whole, thing isn't done right. But that was the wording I used to write a little complaint. My private property was seized by persons impersonating officers of the state who swore falsely before this court and then kidnapped me and held me for ransom. She did go to jail for a few days. This breach of the trust has left me insecure in my persons, papers, houses, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures and disturbed the peace of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I am in expectation of quick justice from this court because they're disturbing the peace by doing these things. Well, whose peace is it? It's God's peace, right? Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. Well, because she had done this, right, so she goes down with this piece of paper to the magistrate's office, gets to see the magistrate, has a little talk about what's going on. The magistrate says, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want... And Dawn said, well, file it, I want you to file it into your office. And so that's what she did. Now, maybe that was the wrong words to use. Maybe she said, I want you to issue an arrest warrant. I don't know. But, the lady did it. And then she took her out into the hallway. Oh, well, that'll be on the next one. But because of this, this judge faxed it to the prosecutor's office, and then somehow the sheriff got a hold of Dawn, and all of a sudden now she gets this inventory given to her of all the property that they had taken from her house during the search and seizure, which is, I'm sure it's all part of the story here, right? This is what they're talking about in the story. But, basically took her deceased husband's guns, ammunition, gold and silver coins, on and on and on. And now sitting in their bonded warehouse somewhere in Irwin County, Georgia. So, that was that page. Okay, and then what happened? This is I'm giving you the chronological order, and we got to go to J, so it may take me a little bit. But this is the step-by-step, right? So, after talking to the magistrate about this matter here, the magistrate took her out in the hallway and showed her a big-ass bulletin board where on there was posted this document. Notice a seizure of personal property valued at $25,000 or less pursuant to some, Georgia statute. Now it's Dawn Stewart, not Dawn Katrina Stewart, whose name is what name they used on all of the warrants, right? Now we're back to Dawn Stewart. And take notice, law enforcement officers of the South Central Drug Task Force, which isn't part of the Sheriff's Department, right? This is a private security guard entity graded by the county commissioners, but they don't have any law enforcement authority because they're not. They don't have the frickin' paperwork, right? They don't. My point is, they're not even part of the Sheriff's Department. When you start telling these people about them, well, they're not part of us. They were appointed by the county commission. Well, that's fucked up. Right, 18 mature marijuana plants, marijuana, 7 oxycodone tablets, Schedule 2 controlled substance, goes on and on and on. Flintlock, now we get to the things of value. Okay, well, it's only marijuana if you agree, so no, it's not marijuana, it's herb. You took my fucking herb, dude. Give me back my food. God gave it to me. And as far as the 7 oxycodone tablets, I guess I never did ask Dawn if she had a prescription, but yeah, that's its own issue. Anyways, this was what was on the wall and submitted by and then if you look at this thing, right, so here's what was this is what's on the bulletin board in the courthouse. Blah, 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 and you get to this last one. The seized property was directly or indirectly used or intended for use to facilitate the manufacture of marijuana and possession of oxycodone tablets in violation of code section. And then there's nothing else. There isn't a second page. Right? There's a third page. And further notice, blah, 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 blah. So, right there, none of this is a freaking mistake. It's all done on purpose. It's just part of the scheme. All right, so this is why she had these guns, though. This is why her husband had a gun collection, was because it was going to be used for the manufacture of marijuana and possession of oxycodone tablets. That was the reason to take all of her property, right? Seized property. 326 Crystal Lake Road, Rebecca, Georgia, in Irwin County, Georgia. Now, is that the proper way to do this? It may be. That may be the full legal address, right? It's 326 Crystal Lake Road, Rebecca, Georgia, which is where the mail comes. It isn't where she lives, but it is where the mail comes. With a 5-digit zip, which is in Irwin County, Georgia. I could see that being that's the proper way to say that's your residence. It isn't necessarily your mailing address. It's your residence. From right here, 326 to the end of Georgia. Because I know they use the county as part of your residence. It's just, where does that fit into this, right? And it's like, hey, they put it right there. Now, they're not going to use, they won't do it like this again anywhere else, right? This would be the only place. It would be 326 Crystal Lake Road, comma, GA, that's the mailing address in Irwin County, Georgia. And then they went on and put a third page, and what did this say? Seize property. Oh, if you think it's yours, well, come claim it. That's what they want you to do. Come say it's marijuana. We want you to come and tell us you agree it's marijuana. That's what this is. It's a scheme to get you to try to come claim your property. You agree it's marijuana? Well, then we can bust you for that because we own that word. God owns herb. We own marijuana. You agree it's marijuana? Then you're guilty. Notice of posting. I wonder who Leslie D. Bailey was. It doesn't say in there, right? Investigator with the district attorney from Tifton Judicial Circuit have this day posted. We haven't talked to her. We may have to subpoena her under ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, which is one of the wonderful things about that is when you see if you go to court in a judicial court of justice and there's a plaintiff and a defendant, you've already agreed to be the defendant, and the defendant is guilty or they wouldn't be in court. Right? Because they have to have probable cause before they take you to court, which means the judge has to believe you're guilty before he can send you to court. You agree to be the defendant, you're guilty. In a court of justice. It isn't a court of law, it's not a court of equity, it's a court of justice, which is a Talmudic law court. It's one of the 7 Noahide laws to have courts of justice. And I've shown before the act that was passed back in whenever it was. I think Reagan was the first one to sign one, starting this thing called Education Day, which was talking about this nation. Well, the one that actually says that I know says it is the one that Bush Sr. signed that says that the nation is governed by the Noahide laws. Right, that was his interpretation. The Congress said it, he signed it, that they say that we're governed by the Noahide laws. We're not governed by the Constitution. Now, again, they didn't take the proper oath of office, didn't use their full legal name, so in their society, that may be, but I don't want to be in their society. So they dehumanize you, and they take your middle name, right, your spirit name, call the middle name, it's, the second half of your given name, or whatever you want to call it, but right? They take Katrina out. Now they're charging Dawn Stewart. Well, you're no longer a human being. Now you're just a human. Right? Because a human being is a human with the spirit. And a human is just a freaking animal. Spiritless animal, right? So that's, they're gonna say you're an animal. You're just human. No, I'm a human being. I have a spirit of God. You can't say that I don't. And that's what they want to do. Okay, so we got that done. We found that, and it's like, well, now what are we going to do next? So then I decided, well, let's write one more thing to the same judge. We're going to try to get it down to the same judge. But this time we took this one, even before she read it, the magistrate wouldn't come out of her office and see Dawn. Dawn had to do everything through her secretary, but the secretary did take this back to her in her office and then came back and told Dawn that the judge said to take it to the Superior Court clerk. So that's what she ended up doing. But this is what, she read this, so this is what we sent to her. Was application for injunction and appointment of a receiver. thinking that there must be a court case open someplace, right? And it started in her courts. Let's go to her and say we want to have an injunction and an appointment of a receiver in whatever this is that's going on. And in Georgia law, it says appointment of a receiver, grounds generally. When any fund or property is in litigation and the rights of either or both parties cannot otherwise be fully protected, or where there is a fund or property having no one to manage it, a receiver of the same may be appointed by the judge of the superior court having jurisdiction thereof. Well, forget that they're charging her with a criminal matter. They took her property. So, yeah, there is property in dispute, right? So, okay, there's the law we can use. Let's go back, complain some more. I, Dawn Katrina Stewart, applicant and a permanent resident of Irwin County, Georgia. And so this is where I think instead of saying it this way, I just go say it the way that these people said it. Where was that at? Right here. 326 Crystal Lake Road, Rebecca, Georgia, 31783 in Irwin County, Georgia. Right, that's what I'd be using. Here. And then apply for an injunction and appointment of receiver as a remedy of last resort in litigation involving the conduct of executive agencies that fail to comply with constitutional or statutory obligations to populations that rely on those agencies for their basic human rights. I took that phrase out of something, so I didn't write that. I said, I'm going to just put what they said and put it in there. And to protect my person's papers, houses, and effects, tangible and intangible property from unreasonable searches and seizures. A number of documents that simulate a legal process under color of law were initiated by persons having no affiliation with the sheriff, state police, or federal law enforcement. Right, this drug task force, in order to camouflage their armed trespass to persons, property, and land. That's why I say they're there. I don't know what they're, I can test whatever they say. This is my story. I'm sticking to it. The Dawn story. She gets it. Right? You need to go tell the truth and stand on it. So, tell the truth. My liberty and personal property were seized and my identity stole by individuals impersonating Georgia law enforcement officers, claiming authority to enforce an unconstitutional statute that violates my freedom of religion protected by the Constitution of the United States. Herb, not marijuana. While held against my will in a private prison, I was coerced into accepting responsibility for indebtedness as part of a scheme to extort my wealth. Right? They get you into the holding cell or into court, and if you sign this piece of paper, you can leave. That's the bonds or whatever else they're going to use. It's their reason to say you've promised. Now, if you break your promise and don't do that, they can take you to court for breaking your promise under the doctrine of assumpsit. ASSUMPSIT, I think it is. You broke your promise. It's common law. First, they got to get you, coerce the promise out of you, and then they can go say you didn't fulfill your promise. So if you don't show up for a court date on your ticket, well, you promised to appear. You didn't show up. Contempt of court. And once they have you in civil contempt, they can do whatever they want with you. However they want, whenever they want, at their convenience. All they need to do is say that you were in contempt of court. Because you didn't appear. You broke your promise. And see, these are the things that you can go to a chaplain for, because a chaplain has the power to offer dispensation. And a dispensation is being relieved of a private promise. In fact, I need to go show you that. I forgot to put that on here. Okay, hang on a second. Sorry about that. I'm trying to tie together the things that I've learned since, or I'm learning along the way, with what I'm already doing, because that's where it's leading me to. So, one of the powers of a chaplain is dispensation, and I'm not talking about the Protestant dispensation, about these different times, or whatever the hell it is they use dispensation for. I mean, to dispense or commute from any private vow or promise one's subjects, and also in the case of visitors on a military installation, provided this does not harm any acquired rights of others. So this is what the Catholic Church says about chaplains and what they can do, right? So first of all, it's a private vow or promise. Well, they say that you promised to go to court and you didn't show up, so you violated your promise to appear. But the court they're trying to get you to go to is a Talmudic law court, so you shouldn't have to go. So you should be able to go and say, hey, chaplain, I need some help. They want me to go to this Talmudic law court, court of justice, and I don't want to go there. Right? But they say, I promised, right? Can you write a piece of paper, get me out of my promise? So I'm trying to do something like this right now with the church and the chaplains through the Archdiocese for the military services to get a dispensation to some things that have to do with military stuff. The paperwork they have you fill out when you first get in, that they have you put your name backwards and then agree that your name has a middle initial and all this shit's on these forms that they make you fill out. But that's all for another video. I'm just showing, hey, this is the idea about going to a church that has a gold fringe flag and ask for dispensation to a private vow or promise of one's subjects. Now, you're not subject to the church, but the church is an agent of the government. They have an agency relationship with the Department of Defense. They've had it since 1918. The Protestant church is in one group and the Catholic Church in another. And the Catholic Church in America signed a pledge to the United States. And I'll show that in my next video. I guess I've never really shown that, but can't put it all in one spot. It just gets to be too much. Okay, so right, freedom of religion. You have the right to have herb. Go get the frickin' chaplain to write you a letter says they can't charge you for that. That's what I'm saying. Church, right? Why do you allow belligerents to enslave people for possessing a promised gift of God? Go to the church with your Bible, open to the first page and say, it's herb. You can't call it marijuana. You have to manufacture marijuana. Right? You can't. It's a wonderful system. If we could ever get, them to do the right thing. We live in a Judeo-Christian system. It's based on the Bible. That's like they say George Washington, when he took his oath of office, he did it with the Bible, but he opened the Bible. Well, what would that mean? Well, he opened it to the New Testament and put his hand on it because he's a Christian. He didn't do it on the Old Testament. That's for Jews. And so if you put your hand on the cover, you're doing it, a double-minded person. You're doing it for both of them. One or the other. You're either a Christian or a Jew. You can't be both. So what is this one? What am I looking? Okay, civil action. Okay, so. Dawn does this. My liberty and personal property seized. My identity stolen by individuals. I think I said that. Well, held. Yep. Had to sign some paperwork away, right? Make some bonds up. An individual impersonating a Georgia district attorney posted a partial inventory of property unjustly confiscated from my person, but I never received proper notice as required by law. Right? She never got a copy. It was just posted in the frickin' bulletin board of the courthouse. So if you're ever in charge for something, you need to go find this. Apparently, there must be a bulletin board in every courthouse. Go find the bulletin board and see who's on it, or if you're on it, or whatever the story is. This posting used the pseudonym Dawn Stewart, which is legally insufficient as identification and makes no mention of the gold or silver coins seized without a proper warrant. I have not been made aware of any formal charge or Georgia court proceedings against my person or property, and I demand relief from the breach of public trust and acts of bad faith. Because up until now, she hadn't gotten anything. I mean, if the judge hadn't pointed out that this letter was hanging up in the courthouse, she wouldn't have known that. But she did, and she got it, and then we did this, and we took it to the same woman who wouldn't take it this time. It said, take it to the other court. So Dawn did, and when she got there, they said, well, what are you doing here with this? And Dawn said, I was just over talking to Magistrate Culpepper. She said, bring it over here. They were really quite surprised. And by the way, what else do you have for me here? On me here, she asked. And so they went and they got this record they had on her, which had these in here, right? So now this is like a record that she got from the circuit court, superior court, whatever you think of as your higher court in your county. They had this information on Dawn, but it may not have been Dawn Katrina Stewart. I don't know what they had it under, but because she was there and knew what she did, they gave her this stuff, right? Because here it's Stewart, comma, Dawn Katrina. Well, is that how they're keeping the record, or is it Dawn Katrina Stewart? Because your name doesn't have a comma in it, right? So if they want to put your last name first, well, what's the comma for? My name doesn't have a comma. No, that's how you identify a business, which I've shown in other videos. Well, it doesn't really matter. So anyways, this was just the things that were on there that I had looked at later. Those were all the same, all the same, all the same, all the same, all the same. Here's what she filed, right? Because when she got back from the office, she just faxed me all this stuff. Had copies made. Right, it's supposed to be a receipt, but nobody signed it. Didn't really say what it was for. Nothing, no case number. Right, just going to give you some paperwork, but we're not going to really tell you what it's for. We're not going to sign it. It has no value. Well, I had in there this warrant from 1999, which, hey, that'd be 20 years old. Yet they still had a warrant in the fucking file on Dawn Katrina Stewart from 1999 that just in 2018 had been dismissed. So this actually happened before, this is a year before what we're talking about happening now. So Dawn never knew this stuff was in there. But it's the same guy, Paul Bowden, claiming to be the district attorney. Right? He filed it in there on the 18th, the same place that we just filed ours. Here's the original warrant for that from 1999, where it says the state versus Dawn Katrina Stewart. Right? It said the state. It doesn't say the state anymore. Now it says state of Georgia is after Dawn Katrina Stewart. So they, somewhere along the line they changed the name of the state. Right? Filed in there. Not saying it's page 1 through 4. Superior Court of Irwin County. Right? That's what that one says. What does the ones in 1 through 4 say? Oh, they got a different one, right? Filed in office, Sherry Pope, comma, deputy clerk. Of what? What office, and what's she the deputy clerk of, right? These were filed, so these warrants were filed into a different office than this was filed into. Or where the answer from the prosecutor was filed into, or where this was filed into. They're all different. And this was the original warrant back in the time, and then it was Dawn Stewart. This is when she was writing a bond back in the day as Dawn Stewart. Right? She had to do a bond back then for $10,000. Goes on and on and on. Magistrate of what, right? So none of these things are ever filled out all the way. Right here we got an affiant, but what's the other word they use? You got the affiant and the attested by. There's no attested on here. Supposed to be a judge, but, judge of what? Because all this other shit is below this line, so it's a new thing starting. It has nothing to do with what was above. Old news, old news, old news. It's all interesting, but they finally get to here, and there was this in here. And this is on 11/1/2019, which was, after we had done some of these other things, like went and complained to the prosecutor or to the magistrate. And it said, so 2009 CV 102, right, is a court case. Oh, that's what it is. There's also CV 2019-104 right now. Okay. They got two different court cases to open up. I just now seen it myself. But this is what was in there the first time she went, and it says Superior Court, Georgia, comma, Irwin County, right? So that's the court this is in, Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. And they had this notice of seizure in here, right? This is part of that court case that ends with code violation and then doesn't have a second page, right? And then further notice, further action. So when they made this copy, well, maybe Dawn did. No, this is a red copy. How'd they do this? There's missing a second page, right? There isn't anything on the back, and then it goes to a third page, right? So it's like they're missing a page on this thing. And this one doesn't say that it was filed in. I guess it doesn't need to. It could just be on the first page. But it was filed into this case, and now they've opened up another case, as we'll see, that's on 12/05/2019, doing the same thing, Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. So they are trying all sorts of conniving things, as you'll see, right? Because they never served this on Dawn. The only way she knows it existed is because she did this and took it to the magistrate, who said, take it to the big court. And when she did, she said, what else do you have on me here? And they dumped out this pile of paperwork. Everything that the clerk had on Dawn Katrina Stewart by whatever, Jane Doe name they may have been using. Okay, so, can't do anything about it. That's what they did, right? So, but then because we had put this in, because, again, we're taking that, asking for an injunction down at the time when we don't know that this court case is going on, and they give her all this paperwork. But because she did that, very soon later she got called and said she had to be served these papers by the Sheriff's Department, which has 2019 CV 114, 12/5/2019, Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. So it's another court case completely. I was thinking it was the same court case, but I just now, that's not the same. It's 114, 112. Duh. It's two different court cases. But this one had these other additional pages attached to it where it shows that something was e-filed into the Superior Court, Irwin County, Georgia. It's 2019 CV 114. Well, hang on a minute. This says Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. This says Superior Court, Irwin County, Georgia. They are not the same court. And the wording on the, so this is why you need to look at your paperwork really close, everything, and compare things to each other, because this whole freaking stamp isn't the same. Nancy Ross Clerk. Right? Once you get on a roll, it's like, well, what else is different? Nancy Ross Clerk. Well, that's different than, where was it we found that one? Right? Clerk, Superior Court, Irwin County. Nancy Ross. Right? This was filed into a different office than this other case. That's just the evidence that this other case has been filed into something different, because this was filed into this office. And this is the one that says 102. The other one says 114. Right? 102 and 104. You got to remember that. Remember that, Dawn? Show it to your daughters. Everyone will know what's going on. And that's the one that went into Clerk, Superior Court, Irwin County, which is different than going into Nancy Ross Clerk, Irwin County, Georgia. Filed into two different court cases. Lie, cheat, and steal. And then they gave the reasons, bada boom, bada bing, bada 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 bada. This thing can go on forever if I tried to read all these pages. So now here's a summons using that number from the same office that, that it was put into by the alleged district attorney. Superior Court of Irwin, Superior Court Irwin County, not Superior Court Georgia, which would be like the Georgia court. No, this is a county court. Superior Court Irwin County, Georgia. It's just a local court. It's a summons, but they got the defendant as Stuart, Dawn, filed by Sandra Guest, who's claiming to be doing this, on behalf of the Tifton Judicial Circuit District Court Attorney's Office. So their mismatches just go on and on and on. But we will persevere. So what we did then is, they sent that. So what are we going to do? We're going to try to file something into that court case, which was asking for application for arbitration. That went into one of the many styles of frickin' seals that we've seen, right? They're all different. So unless you have them all laying out, it's hard to tell which one. But it isn't quite the same as the other ones that they've gone into. Like, okay, that isn't the one where this application for injunction went into, is that the same one? Maybe it is the same one. Yeah, okay. So these two went into the same office. Superior Court Clerk, Irwin County. No, that's a different office. This is Clerk, Superior Court, Irwin County. Not Clerk, Superior Court, Irwin County. You would think it'd be that easy to remember. Clerk, Superior Court, Irwin County. Yes, they are the same. Okay, but it isn't the same as this other one that we had where it was like this one, right? That one went into a different one. Okay. Well, what happened here? Well, this is what we filed in asking for that. When did we do this? We're asking now to, have it go to arbitration. December 5th, 2019. No, not then. That is when we put it in. That's when they put it in. On the 13th of January, we put this in. Well, nothing was happening, so it's like, well, okay. They're not putting it in arbitration. It says it can go to arbitration. That's one of our defenses. We should be able to get it in arbitration. I said, well, let's put everything together that we've tried to do. This was just here a couple days ago. And go back and see Heather Culpepper, who's the magistrate judge that we went to in the first place. All right, this person here, Heather Culpepper, about this thing being a simulated legal process. And say, Chief Judge Culpepper, in September 2019, I made you aware that docket number is a simulated legal process under color of law orchestrated by persons of bad faith impersonating law enforcement officers that violates the rights and privileges guaranteed to me under the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Georgia, and the Holy Word of God. Done as part of a scheme of extortion, a felony under state law and federal law from which I demand relief. You filed in office my complaint, but no action has been taken. I'm still being persecuted for my religious beliefs, and my seized property has not been returned to me. A civil action for a value less than $25,000, and actually that was the wrong number, right? Because that was actually 102. That's the one that has that page on there. Has been filed. Give me just a second. I'll have you watch me do this. Okay, hard for me to remember. I put all these. So here's the one they put in, 102, right? And that's the one that has this thing attached to it saying value of $25,000 or less. The one with 104 or 114 doesn't have that paperwork on it. This one here, right, has this other style of paperwork. And on this, they made the defendant all the frickin' property. I probably should have taken a minute and read this one because, yeah, that's interesting. They made the property the defendant. Comes now, state of Georgia, by and through Paul Bowden, district attorney, files complaint for forfeiture pursuant to some reason he has. The personal property sought to be forfeited is described above style caption and is incorporated here in reference to. The defendant personal property is presently in the custody of South Central Drug Task Force. The defendant personal property. Search pursuant to warrant of defendant's real property located on somewhere. The search of the defendant real property, not defendants, comma, like this, right, like they did here. Where is it here? The defendants, right? Here they have apostrophe S, defendant's real property. Here they're saying that the personal property is the defendant and that the real property is the defendant. Right, so this is what they filed. Two different court cases completely. My attempts to answer the allegations in the form of application for injunction and appointment of receiver, Exhibit 2, and application for arbitration, Exhibit 3, have apparently been filed in different offices, as neither of these filings resulted in a civil action number being incorporated onto a file stamp that was done with as was done with Exhibit 1. So again, on the ones that the prosecutor put in, they put, e-filed and put the case number on, and they say that's where it is. But the paperwork that Dawn tried to put in was filed in the office. It doesn't say it was filed into the court case. My answers are being concealed from the civil action and give the false appearance that I have failed to answer the court and am now in contempt of an inferior non-state court. I do not consent to these. Right, I'm saying it's non-state court because they're simulating a legal process, so it really can't be in a court because they're not doing it right. It's all simulation. It's a private tribunal of some kind. I do not consent to these acts of bad faith by persons impersonating an elected government and demand you purge my contempt, punish the bad faith actors, and see that my answers are filed into the court and an ex parte hearing conducted. It is a violation of my freedom of religion to name my God-given food marijuana, and I petition for redress of grievances. The Christian Bible is my law in this matter, and no devil-worshipping satanic sock puppet can pretend to have any authority over my ownership of herb. The first chapter of the book of Genesis ends any debate, and I demand an end to my religious persecution. It really is that simple. If they say you can't have herb, they're the child of the devil. You should tell them or rebuke them. Get behind me, Satan. First page of the Bible. It says it right here. It's food. Food for me, food for animals, food for birds, food for the critters. It's food for everybody. Nobody has any authority over a green plant that bears seeds on the face of the earth. I am in expectation of my good name being cleared, my property returned, and damages paid for destroying my herb harvest. Please see to my relief. Right? That's our answer. We're not putting up with their shit. They want her to go claim it as marijuana and say, yeah, that's my marijuana. We're not doing that. It's herb. I got this part wrong, though. I know that right now because, it should be 1002. There's actually two different civil cases going. All right? Not just two different offices, paper being put in. They got two different civil cases going. Because both of them use the same style. They were both on the paper, on the heading of the right. This comes out of the district attorney's office. So he did two of them. It's really that simple. He's done two of them. Into the Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. But that isn't where they're showing up on the freaking sticker. They're showing up in the Superior Court, Irwin County, Georgia. They lie, they cheat, they steal. But we did get her to take this. Left it with her, and that's where it was. Well, having done this, because this time she did get to see Culpepper. Culpepper took her out and said, well, maybe you want to do this. Right? And it's like, well, this is where, well, not quite there yet. Where's the ADR brochure? Oh, it's up here. Anyway, she took her out by a window and handed her this brochure. So this is Judge Culpepper handing this to Dawn Katrina Stewart and saying, maybe this is what you want to do. And it was an alternative dispute resolution program. Well, that's what arbitration is. So, yeah, that's what we just tried to do with her. But, you know, she's saying she's not the right court. So Dawn's looking at this thing and it says, well, maybe we should just start from the left-hand side. There isn't that much to read. So it says, the Tifton Judicial Circuit is one of 49 Superior Court circuits in Georgia and is comprised of the counties of Irwin, Tift, Turner, and Worth. It is included in the 2nd District Court of Georgia. It is included in the 2nd District Court of Georgia. I'm assuming the 2nd District Court must be the appeals court. The Superior Court exercises both civil and criminal jurisdiction. Our Superior Court judges preside over all felony trials, have exclusive jurisdiction over divorces, and may correct errors made by limited jurisdiction courts. Well, that's where you want to get to. They can fix whatever was done wrong below. The ADR program is mandatory, and all civil cases filed in the Tifton Judicial Circuit, that's this thing over here, right, this, to the left, must go through mediation process, right? It's mandatory, unless exempted by the court, before they are placed on the judge's calendar. Right? So ADR, alternative dispute resolution, which includes arbitration, mediation, conciliation, facilitation, negotiation, who knows what else, right? If it's filed in the Tifton Judicial Circuit, it has to go through there. But then it goes on to say that for state, magistrate, and probate courts, the presiding judge has the discretion to make mediation referrals on a case-by-case basis. Juvenile court cases are exempt from the program altogether. Now, it says it's exempt, but it doesn't say it's excluded. I think that's important to anything that happens, right? Because juvenile court, I would say that's probably where child support's happening, right? And so they're trying to keep you not to take to arbitration. In any case, you need to ask you to go to ADR. If we're going to find out. That's my opinion, right? But this is saying if it went to the Tifton Judicial Circuit, it automatically has to be. But if it's a state magistrate or probate court, then the presiding judge has to make the decision. Well, how many different styles of courts are there? You got state, magistrate, probate. Those are the state courts. Well, then who's the Tifton Judicial Circuit? If the state court is over here and you have to get the judge to say it, then it isn't the Tifton Judicial Circuit. So who the hell is that? Well, it's the Superior Court of Georgia. Right? The one we saw earlier. This one, Superior Court, Georgia, Irwin County. Not Superior Court, Irwin County, Georgia. And so on this brochure, then it said, for more information, contact this person here, gave her email address. Doesn't really give an address, right? But it's got the state of Georgia seal on it, and so forth and so on. And this was the other side of it, so since I highlighted a couple things. The ADR is mandatory in all civil cases filed in the Tifton Judicial Circuit. Must go through mediation process. Under the Tifton Judicial Circuit ADR rules, all parties in the ADR process shall share responsibility, so forth and so on. So Apparently there's local rules and everything that goes to Tifton Judicial Circuit. In case you needed to be told again, what's mandatory, it needs to go there. Now, these are the following cases that are exempt from ADR. Questions of law, appeals from rulings of administrative agencies, in rem condemnations, habeas corpus, extraordinary writs, declaratory judgment, writs of possession, cases with potential of violence, cases with involved child support agencies, uncontested. Oh, they say you can't do it. Cases which involve child support agencies. If you were in child support case, I'd put it in anyways and say, well, there isn't one. They're just pretending to be, because none of these people are who they say they are. Right? Dawn's supposed to have broken a law, and they're doing all this civilly. There isn't any criminal case against her. Both of these cases are civil. Right? What they're trying to do is get you not to appear. Doesn't matter. You didn't get the paperwork. You didn't appear. Hey, contempt of court. We can do whatever we want with you now. If you don't purge your contempt and say, hey, there was a mistake made or whatever. Right? So what we're trying to do now is we have contacted Melissa Hughes and sent to her today this case here that has this court case number on it. Asking her to ask the judge, well, where's this case at? I'm trying to answer. And, so we're in the very beginning steps of doing anything with Melissa. That was the thing. But because Dawn had because she did contact Melissa, and Melissa said, well, asked her what the civil case number was, and she gave it to her and says, well, I don't have it on my list. Right? Well, Melissa asked her, what is your civil case number? And Dawn said, 2019 CV 114. And Melissa said, well, I don't see that on my list anymore. Who's the plaintiff? And Dawn said, State of Georgia, because that's what it says. And Melissa said, well, that wouldn't be here. We don't have cases for State of Georgia. Now, that's what Melissa would say, thinking State of Georgia means that it's the government. But the government is actually called Georgia. It's not called State of Georgia. State of Georgia is a business registered on Dun & Bradstreet. Right? Now, you try to explain that to Melissa, she won't have a fucking clue, right? She just thinks State of Georgia is the government. So don't argue with her. Okay, fine. Well, just email your case and tell her to give it to the judge. But because she had done this, what she came back with, Melissa came back, so I spoke to you earlier about the ADR rules, just in case you may have other questions. I'm sending you our website, so you may look at it in its entirety. I hope this helps, and my office can be a further assistance. Please let me know. Thank you for it. Have a great day. And I had this link to tiftcircuit.com. I was like, that's not a government website. That's a .com website. Right? It didn't say .gov. It doesn't say Tifton Judicial Circuit. It says Tift Circuit. Strange name for an entity, but that's what it had. And when we went and looked at it, give me a minute, I got to pull it up here. Okay, so tiftcircuit.com. What the heck is that? tiftcircuit.com comes up. She says this is their website. Right now, this is the ADR person talking. It's called State Attorney, LLC. Well, ain't that some shit? Right, it's not called the court. It's called State Attorney LLC. And down here it says 2018 TiftonCircuit.com. Right, copyright. Well, I've looked up State Attorney LLC in Georgia to see if it's a business listed, and it isn't. Right, so it's not listed with the Secretary of State. I don't know what that means. It could be, Washington, D.C. It could be Delaware. Who knows where it is, but it says State Attorney. And it says About Us. And you click on it, and next thing you know, you're looking at the Chief Judge of the Tifton County, or Tifton Judicial Circuit, and another judge. Right? So these are the judges of the circuit, under a thing called State Attorney LLC. So is it like, well, this is how you hire your attorney? Because if you ever go to court, or you argue with a clerk or whatever, they always say, well, why don't you hire an attorney? Okay, State Attorney LLC. because arbitration isn't in court, it's not judicial, it's administrative. This isn't happening in court, it's a .com. Superior Court staff. Judge Bill Reinhardt, Chief Judge, Superior Courts. And, well, there's Melissa Hughes. She's the ADR Dispute Resolution Director and Circuit Court Administrator and Judicial Assistant. This here makes up the Superior Court staff. So, and then it shows their court calendars, which, yeah, because we're here, let's look at one. See what's on their court calendars, right? Who are we speaking of? You got Judge Reinhardt, Cross, and Hurd. 4 is other. Irwin, Tiff, Turner, Worth, the different counties. Administrative, courthouse, all these different places it could be. Right? Criminal trials. Well, that's Judge Reinhardt. He's Chief Judge. Yeah, you got the criminal trials. 2 is Judge Cross, and she's got the April and June criminal calendar. Call. Right? State court criminal trials. Well, they got state court criminal trials, and they got criminal trials. Apparently, they're different. Civil hearings. Misdemeanors, civil reserve day hearings, preliminary hearings, grand jury, civil hearings. Interesting. I mean, there's lots of shit going on here that, now you have state court civil trials. And state court criminal trials, state court civil trials, but they're different than civil hearings, criminal trials. They're different venues on the same people's calendars. Legal forms. What did this thing have? It actually had what looks like the forms that are supposed to be used. Open up already. Yeah. I'll find it some other time. And then I had ADR in here, right? So I'm just showing you things that I've learned by doing here recently and where we are today. And if you look at the phone number they used and you were to use it on Dun & Bradstreet and do a phone number search to see what business it goes to, right? It doesn't go to this thing called State Attorney LLC. There's the phone number, right? According to Dun & Bradstreet, it goes to County of Tifton. Not Tifton County, County of Tifton. And HON, which you assume means Honorable, Gary C. McCorvey, who used to be the judge of the district or the Superior Court. All right, he used to hold this office right here. Sorry, this thing takes a little bit of time. This guy, right? So he was replaced by him. So I don't know. Is he still the straw boss of the county? Because, his name is still on the business. He's the one using that phone number. Single location. There's the phone numbers. Those phone numbers there. Match that phone number there. And this isn't a government site. This is a State Attorney LLC. And so we're going to go here and find out about alternative dispute resolution. I'm helping Jackie in Florida on her foreclosure case. And what did we find there? That right, I found a link online for Florida dispute resolution from the Supreme Court, and I said, well, hey, what's the contact information for the circuit that she was involved in? And they gave it to her, and for whatever reason, the attached page contains, I didn't put the attached page on there, but they gave the page that it goes with, which I go get. It didn't take that long. So, okay, so this is, how everything just, they keep splitting in half, and they split something again, and, it's how they hide the peanut. Because I contacted this place based on the information I found online. It says Supreme Court Building, right? Florida Dispute Resolution Center. Attach the page for the contact information for the 20 circuits. Right? So for the 20 circuits, this is the directory of court mediation programs. We're talking the 5th Judicial Circuit. And they give a phone number. Don't give a contact or anything else like that, right? But if you went to their website, which is the Florida Court's website, and you looked up arbitration and so forth, it would give you this list. And this says state court ADR contacts. Now, the other one said district, judicial district court ADR contacts, and this is for the state court. And on here, they have Director of Case Management, Betty White, Marion County Judicial Center, 352-401-7828, which I don't believe is the same address as this other one. No, it isn't, right? This one's 1602. So you have the 5th Judicial Circuit has an ADR program. And then apparently the state courts have an ADR program. And whether they're the same person or not, I don't know. But they're apparently different jurisdictions. So you would have to ask about ADR for both of them. Until we get figured out which one we're dealing with, because, I don't know. All I know is one of these is the alternative dispute resolution contact. And what we tried to do in Jackie's case was file a motion into the court case to have it moved to ADR, alternative dispute resolution. They haven't done it yet. But it says in the, Florida laws, if you have a case that's a civil case, you can have it moved to ADR. So we're going to be contacting these offices and seeing what they have to say. That's really where we're at with what's going on with Dawn in her case. The same thing is contacting these people here. Going to get a hold of Melissa, send her some of the information on the court case, and say, well, take it to the chief judge and ask him what we need to do. You say you don't have it in your court case, but here it is. So where is it? Right? Let the judge tell us where it is. And find out where these cases are actually filed at so that we can go into that court and say we want to ask for alternative dispute resolution. And so you can see it's a big scheme all over the place, right? That they're charging people for something that on the very first page of the Bible says it's given by God to all animals, to everything wherein there is life, given every green herb for meat. So one possibility is go to the church and say, if you believe what this Bible says, you need to write something to whoever gave you that flag and tell them to get me out of this court case. Because I'm being charged for something that I'm allowed to have. Whether I'm a Christian or not, it was given to animals, right? You don't have to be a Christian for this to be given to you. You don't even have to believe in the Bible, right? Beasts of the earth, every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. So they can't charge anybody, anywhere, for having marijuana, what they call marijuana. And, hey, your governor is, in my case, she is a child of the father of all lies. She is a child of the devil. All prosecutors are childs of the devil. All people pretending to be judges are children of the devil. It just is. Is what it is. Now, the devil may have cut a deal with God, and if we go to the right door, well, then the devil has to do what God says because the devil has to deal with God. But we can't deal with the devil. God deals with the devil. We deal with God. Amen. I'll quit my preaching, but that's where we're at today, and I'm sure something will be popping again here soon. My next video will hopefully be on the what I've been trying to do with military pay, right? Because I say that if you're a veteran, you're still in the military, and all they're really doing is they're withholding your disability retirement pay that they gave you, whether you know it or not, that goes into the military retirement fund, which now has a surplus of $1 trillion. And within 10 years, it'll be $2 trillion. Well, that's our money being put into this freaking fund that pays out like $100 billion a year in fees and employment wages and so forth. Right? It's a big boondoggle for somebody, but it's our money that's paying for the boondoggle. It's the kitty that Trump wants to get his money out of to build his wall, which I don't care if he builds a wall, but he's taking it out of my retirement fund. So I want mine, and they won't give it to us because they won't admit that veterans are in the military. You never got a separation order, brothers and sisters. You need three things: a DD-214, a separation order, and a certificate of discharge. And they're all supposed to be mailed to you after you get out. And it didn't happen. Okay, then, that's where we are today. And as I said, and I mean very, very sincerely, I really need you to support me if you can. So please donate. I'll have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.